that was one of my biggest challenges. And I took my time with it because especially being like looking the way that I do in this art, being white identified, like I think it was very important for me to make sure that I came at it from a way of respect.
Junkie on the track.
Well, that happened. Well, that actually happens. That's just life, right? So it's good. It's great to see you.
Good to see you too.
How are things?
They're good. They're good.
Okay.
It's been 2021 was like the worst year of my life. Like there's just a lot of experiences that I went through that were new. It was the first time I lost someone in my immediate family.
Okay.
And like besides my grandma and my mom, I don't really have like the best relationships with a lot of people in my family. And my grandma I lived with, so it's she's really like my mom in a way too. Named after her. She was a choir director. A lot of the music and like art type of thing I got from her. My mom wasn't really into as much. She would like to dance to disco music, but definitely like the wanting to play the piano and being more like into the classical like training of music was definitely came from my grandma. So losing my grandma last year, and my brother got hospitalized. He just got hospitalized again. Like it's been, just crazy things like that. That were first time experiences for me in 2021, on top of like the pandemic and then the crazy inflation of prices and not really having as many opportunities to perform. But there's also a lot of positive things that came out of that. I got to go to 1520 Cedric in New York City, got to see that versus battle. I had a lot of dope opportunities to perform and, to go on tour and, all these things that I think kind of came with all of that struggle too. So it's crazy because it's been, there's a lot of things I could say have been bad or I could focus on, but I think they also made me realize how important it is just to be grateful for where you're at and the given day. You know what I mean?
Oh, without question. And before we go deeper, let me go through the speech. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dudes and dudettes, the sexy and the not so sexy, big children and little. I am the novelist, author, poet, Lamont Anthony Wright. And we have the uncompromising, the forever growing, forever expanding Moon Magic on the other end of the line, ladies and gentlemen. How are you today? Good. Welcome. This show is called The Adventures of a Naive Poet. And, I really wanted you to be a part of this series for a number of selfish reasons. The first selfish reason was because I had not spoken to you in a long time. Second reason is that there was a time in knowing you that I knew, since you were on the beginning leg of your journey, that there were some fires you were going to walk through in your pursuit of what it was you were looking for at the time. I'm pretty sure that has evolved at the time. And I knew, as a person who had walked that leg of his journey already, that was one you were going to have to walk with your own 2 feet. There was no amount of mentoring. There was nothing that I could possibly say to you that would prepare you to face what you was about to face. Then I walked into a higher form of spirit where it was just like, the door is always open for love, and I will move how love moves, and the door is always open. And I had called you on a couple of occasions, just to let you know I was there. I'm just here over your shoulder. I'm here in the background. No, we're not besties. We don't have to hit, you don't have to hit me up. I'm just letting you know I am here should the energy take you that way. You follow what I'm saying? So I knew that a show of this nature, where I was trying to build infrastructure through testimony, okay, where I knew you had a lot to bring to the table. And as soon as the camera jumped on, you immediately told me how hard your 2021 was. However, we'll get to that. But my first couple of questions I actually wrote down because I want to get this right. Okay. My first question to you, Moon Magic, is for those who don't know, how did you come to be Moon Magic?
Man. Well, first of all, honored to be here with y'all today, man. This definitely takes it back to the roots, being with you, Graffiti Bleu and Rhythm and Poetry. And salute to everybody who was a part of Rhythm and Poetry, because it was such a huge foundation to where I am now. How I became Moon Magic. It's kind of an ever-evolving journey. I was talking a little bit with you prior to us recording about my grandmother passing. And just, recognizing through that how important of a role she played in my life, being a choir director, being, having a piano in her home and, living with her for a certain period of time in my life, and just being influenced by her and carrying that same kind of legacy. So it's something I definitely, music in general, was always very interested in from a very young age, and got involved in as much as I could. But of course, that transformed into many different ways, whether it was, creating music groups with friends when I was a kid, or being in the school choir, or, band, that type of stuff. Whatever opportunity they had, performance, theater, to be able to be a part of music and performance, I took on. As I got older, it kind of transformed more into, the streets and the urban environment and hip hop. Based on being able to be at an age where I could finally speak to my experience. And that took a long while to even be able to really get there. Shout out to the ethnic studies teachers over at Cal Poly Pomona, and the Summer Bridge program there, and coming in through Summer Bridge, which is a program for students who are first generation college students from minority backgrounds, who's, low income predominantly. Also the foster youth are a part of that as well. So that was kind of my first experience in the college environment, and it was in at Pomona in LA County. And the hip hop community and culture of LA is so rich. Being able to, study those things and really have language for the first time about the experiences coming from my environment I was in as a youth, and my town as a youth, and then being able to, have a lot of friends who are from LA who were taking me to underground hip hop shows and getting that exposure to the culture in that way. Definitely just like, it was like love at first sight. It was the first time I actually thought that hip hop was so different because it was nothing like what I had heard on the radio. So I was like, oh my gosh, nobody knows what this is. This is crazy.
There's a section of the show that's called Naive Notions. So I would classify that as a naive notion. What did you believe?
Very naive notion.
What did you believe? Okay. What did you believe hip hop was on the radio? Yeah. And then what did it end up being? Can you articulate that, you think?
Well, to give it a little bit of context, I was born in '94, so I'm a millennial, and the first rap song I ever heard on the radio, because prior to that, I was only allowed to listen to like Christian music. So, we're in my friends' like garage in the corner somewhere with a little radio, and we turn it on and we're listening to 50 Cent's Magic Stick and Candy Shop,
That was your first rap experience, was 50?
Yes. I remember being in elementary school being like, what's he talking about? And then in middle school, that was when like the auto-tune era had really popped off. So like Akon was like the shit, Yin Yang Twins. Oh, the Soldier Boy dance. If you didn't know the Soldier Boy dance in middle school, what were you doing? You were ashamed of yourself.
Right. Wow.
So like, the Reeboks and the fur, the apple bottom jeans, like that was my middle school era, which is, I think hip hop is something I've been learning as a millennial who's surrounded by a lot of OGs in the game, is really impacts you based on when you were at your most influential time period and where hip hop was at, if that makes sense. So like
Perfect sense.
if you were 14 in the 90s, your experience of hip hop is very different than being 14 in the 2010s, in the 2000s, so like, just being able to have that experience, I thought they were different things really until I actually got plugged into the actual culture, in real life, going to hip hop shows, underground shows, like I said, in LA, and being with just my friends, chilling it, shout out to SQE and the Metro House, where we would kick it, listening to hip hop, and just like they did open mics in the backyard, and got to see some of the actual culture aspects of it, the breaking, the knowledge, the all the different elements, opposed to just rap music on the radio. And that's kind of where I fell in love with it.
Right,
So
right. No, you're talking about hip hop culture. That's what's up.
my naive notion was thinking, because of my first time experiencing it was more like experiencing the culture and the opposed to just the rap music, that I thought they were two totally different things. And then kind of realizing, as of course hip hop is expanded and I expanded, oh, there's all these different lanes, you have like lo-fi rap now, you got trap rap, there's even like hip hop, whatever, whatever that is.
There are so many pockets, and there's a pocket being invented right now. Yes, there's okay. Speaking of pockets, what was your greatest challenge? Here you are. Just to give a brief summary, is not really a brief summary. I'm trying to give it its proper respect. But here you are. You've been immersed in the game so far. You get the courage to speak out. At some point, you make the decision, I'm speaking out, and you go for it. And you're here. After you start expressing yourself, what is your greatest challenge as an MC?
Man, okay, so going back to how I became Moon Magic first. So I came here to Sacramento. I was in a very depressed year. When I was back at home, I was not very expressive. I had never even like shared any of my writings. I had my rhyme book, I was very like low key, and I didn't picture myself that person in different performance aspects. And when I was school, it was like, okay, but in the hip hop scene, it was more like, man, I was soaking it all up. You know what I mean? I was so in when you meet someone and you fall in love, Graffiti, and you got these butterflies and you can't even talk around them.
Right. But yet you're always around it.
Right. And so, then, I was in rhythm and poetry when I came to rhythm and poetry, and that famous night, where Graffiti Bleu was like, you look like you got something to say. And I wasn't even planning on going on stage. I was sitting there in the back, just hiding, just listening, soaking it up, and I got up there, and that really opened a door, and to how I became Moon Magic, and what that name means for me, which is its own deeper story for myself.
Right.
So I mean, I think the greatest challenge that I've had as an MC is really like and part of the reasons why like my channel is Moon Magic Flows, my Instagram handle, all my different social media platforms, is being able to really learn how to flow in the most deepest faith of the sense, like freestyling, being able to follow life's outcome willingly. Shout out to G Simone from the Temple of Hip Hop and the Gospel of Hip Hop, where that acronym comes from. Just being able to really embrace that part of it, not because I think I couldn't do it, but because there's a certain sense of you're in the darkness and you have to trust the light at the end of the tunnel. You know what I mean? You don't know what you're gonna say.
Right.
Before you say it, you just gotta trust. I'm gonna hop in the circle and we gonna make it happen. I gotta trust all my training, all my preparation, all my crafting that I've been doing. And that this is there. And that it's that leap, that actual leap, that's been was one of the biggest things to get over initially. And now I kind of find it like almost like I don't want to say get off on it, but
No,
it's
no,
a
no, no. There is
nice
a no.
sensation.
There is a natural high, I believe, that goes with trusting, living in the moment, living in the now, and expressing that, whether it's in a freestyle verse or
Mhm.
something that you had prepared. Even the most greatest written whatever, rap, spoken word, whatever, song lyric, the greatest lyric ever written, if you're not in the emotion, my opinion, if you're not in the emotion of or the energy, if you're not aligned with the energy of what it was, you know what I mean, that was written about,
Right.
it just falls a little bit flat. Even if you're not the person you were when you wrote it, if there's
Right.
got to be some alignment with the person once upon a time who wrote it. You know what I mean? You have to understand her, forgive her, and understand no matter how painful that expression may be, or vice versa, be happy for her that she even had that experience. You know what I mean? So I learned that the hard way. That was one of my naive notions. I figured I used to fall back on my skill as a writer, like that's all that really mattered. But then my energy was so freaking effed up when I got to the stage. I could be talking about the second coming of Jesus Christ. Doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Because my heart and my spirit was so daggone wanky, you know, that
Mhm.
that's what the people felt when I would present. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
And
definitely.
I had to learn how to get out of my own head about a lot of things. I think especially like going back on like, be getting to the place of actually like I'm Moon Magic, the I am, this is the I am, and I'm gonna embrace it and fully dive into it. And that being one of the biggest challenges, was because I'm a very analytical person, as well as a very emotional in person, but I think a lot about things and sometimes over be thinking things, instead of just jumping in it and being like, hey, I feel it, let's do it, and I think there's a certain balance to those things. But that was one of my biggest challenges. And I took my time with it because especially being like looking the way that I do in this art, being white identified, like I think it was very important for me to make sure that I came at it from a way of respect and I really wanted to, take my time with it,
Yeah,
come right with it, and figure out what it is that my story and journey was about, beyond just like the narratives that are being pushed out there, and learning how to embrace my own authenticity and my own truth in a way that is, respectable and complements the mission of what I believe hip hop is for the world. You know what I mean? So I think all
absolutely.
took time to craft over time and to really embrace and learn. And I had a lot of naive notions about what I thought those things were, or what I thought I was supposed to do. And there's been many, 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 many times where I, because I'm very big on my faith and talking with spirit. Like spirit was like, yeah, you're gonna go through the fire and you're gonna get burned today. You're gonna learn today.
Oh
Like
yeah, that
straight up just burn me in the
that
fire.
right,
Um,
the fire, in my interpretation of the
this is the
fire
offering. Go
is
feel the burn.
just right. It's just a process of burning off old naive notions. You know what I
Right.
mean? One of the you
Right.
walk through whatever fire it is, and it's painful because we want to hold on to that something we once believed, and we believed it so much that we were able to really stand tall on that. Like, no, this is the truth. And then when that truth gets turned upside down, and that's really not what it is, you know,
Right.
the pain is in the transformation. It's almost like the pain of childbirth. I have no point of reference for giving birth to any children, but I would imagine that metaphorically, at least, that giving birth to the new you would come with a great deal of pain, no different than a mother giving birth to a child.
Yeah.
So,
Being okay with a continuous process of that,
yeah,
because it's not like one
absolutely.
time. It's like, man, you go into different arenas and each arena has its own challenge and its own burning. And that's the biggest challenge is whenever that new situation happens, whatever that next level is for you, jump on faith and trust your practice and trust your intention and trust your mission. You know what I mean?
Facts. And that's really a great motivation for me to reach out to you so early in this show's manifesto. You know what I mean? Because I don't have to rap to you once a day, once a week, or even once a month. And just visually, just seeing, that you're into this, that, and the third, I already know you're going for it. For it to manifest and for me to see it, and that you're always in these different pockets moving, you know what I mean? I'm just like, oh, I'm like, that's growth. I'm like, there are a number of stories that are here that we don't even got time for. Even if we did a part two, that we just because
Oh yeah.
right.
Especially between us two. That's why I'm like, the first question, how did I become Blue Magic? I'm like, man, Graffiti, we're about to go through our whole story.
I know that could have been
Yeah,
a show. That could have been a show in itself. And it is my intention to hit you back up for part two of this, because the story, I want to give the story its proper due. And I know that the rabbit hole goes deep. And that's one of the main reasons why I, A, documented, and B, wanted to make sure you were part of the documentation process. Okay? Just to give our viewers a little background information, and get them privy to a off-camera conversation. I don't remember what the year was, but I remember you and I had a conversation shortly during the time you was preparing for your first feature at Rhythm and Poetry.
2017.
Right.
That was a magical ass
yes,
year.
and
magic really came to life, like
yes.
at Rhythm and Poetry, those conversations, like for everybody who don't know, like that was
that was a big year. That was a big coming out party for you in particular, and me in many regards, because I was going through a transformation at the time. The universe works in concert. Okay, so the off-camera conversation was me telling you I wanted to be amazingly honest with you, and I wanted you to hear it from me. And it wasn't that I wasn't telling you anything you didn't inherently know. I just want to make sure that you knew the gravity of it. I wasn't trying to insult your intelligence at all. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dudes and dudettes, I told Moon Magic, I was just like, because of your skin color, you are going to have to go deeper than most. You're going to have to be more sincere than most. And you're going to have to go deep if you expect them to take you seriously and be heard. I think you're dope enough to rock it as is, but if you want to be great, you're going to have to dig deeper and tap into that stuff. And hearing versions of your feature, and then you working on the feature, and then coming back and giving me those bars. And I remember my forehead being scrunched up and my heart bleeding for you the day you were either close or on point to what you would ultimately perform. I was like, ooh, that's gonna smash. I was like, that was gonna smash, and it freaking did. And it was one of the cornerstone nights for the establishment that had been open on both coasts for a total of 6 years. Okay, that night that you performed, if I had never told you this before, was one of out of all of the events I have hosted in my life, and that has been quite many. That is definitely one of the cornerstone nights where I watched courage manifest itself, because there were a number of cop-outs, there were a number of routes you could have taken, and you could have certainly played it safe, and you would have still gotten applause. You would have still gotten love, but you went there, and no one that was there forgot that night. And you got those stripes over here, you got those stripes over here, and then that put to me, that just put something else on your name.
Oh yeah, and it first of all, thank you. I appreciate those words. First of all, salute to Rhythm and Poetry. Salute to Graffiti Bleu. But you know, that it's crazy for to hear you say that, because I'm like, it literally, that was like the defining moment. I was like, man, if I can do that, you know, because and back then, you know, I was only really comfortable sharing my poems. You know, I was like
Mhm.
music and my own voice in the music arena, and that's a whole other element that I had my own naive notions about, and how
Mhm.
far could I really take it, and you know how it would be received. And that night was like, man, if I had the courage to do that and it was received in this way, it opened that door even deeper. I was like, well, where else can I take it? And really, this idea that there's certain things that are off limits for me, you know, I just kind of threw that out the door, and I was like, man, whatever it is that I truly desire to do, I, based off of after tonight, I feel like I can take it there, even if I don't even fully, because even where I'm at now, right? I got 3 albums out, you know, all hip hop focused albums. And it wasn't until this third album where I was able to produce it myself. I was like, man, if I can make this, I can rap to this music, I can do that. Now, how far can I take the production side?
Mhm.
Okay, I got some chord progressions down. How far can I take the music side?
Well,
What else can I
exactly,
learn? Can I
exactly.
play this piano live while I'm rapping? Like that would be tight, which I plan to do on the tour, you know.
Right, 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 right,
It's
right.
coming up in the Midwest, March 25th to April 8th. Y'all get your tickets. Um, but you know, so like that night, that like you said, that courage, that, and that's the biggest thing, the biggest naive notion I thought was that things would just come easily. And like I said at the beginning of this, like you have to take that leap. You're like, you hit a wall and you're like, man, I just gotta jump. I just gotta jump. I just gotta jump. It's like, just fucking jump already. Just jump. You know, you're never gonna, that feeling of like, oh, it's not gonna ever be like easy. You know what I mean? It's always gonna
Right.
have that fear when you hit that next level of whatever that wall is. And once you jump, everything opens. You know, you're like, whoa, this is why was I so afraid of this?
It's
Um,
very delicious to find out that anything is possible. That the
and no matter how
moment
far I
you
get, you know,
right,
I
the
did
moment
it.
you
It's just
realize
learning.
that anything is possible, the game changes, and the game changes because you do. You follow what
Hmm.
I'm saying? You know,
Mhm.
so we are going to continue. We are going to continue this. I like this part right here as a stopping point because it really bookends where we started and where we're at now. I would
Mhm.
love to do part 2 of this. I'm going to put all of your information as far as albums, links, show dates, and such, advertised breaking on the screen. Before we get out of here for part 1, is there anything else you would like to share to the people?
Man, just again, thank you so much, Graffiti. Thank you to everybody who was a part of Rhythm and Poetry, Tina and Poetic Butterfly, who's Flow Fashions hat I'm repping right now. Make sure you check out Flow Fashions over in the African marketplace. You know, shout out to everybody who support me, who's given me love, who's been part of my journey. You know, I'm just very, very grateful to have the opportunities that I do. If you are in the Midwest, March 25th to April 8th, come fuck with it. Come out, you know. www.slapfrosttour.com to get your tickets and check out all that. If you want to find my music, www.moomagicflows.com. I got a new project that just dropped, the Hip Hop Witch, first self-produced project, dropped on January 1st. Real excited about that. So make sure you check it out. Got some dope visual content and music videos. Mash Boogie just dropped from that project visually. So check out all the visuals. And yeah, tap in with me at Moon Magic Flows on all platforms. And thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. I want to give a shout out to Rhythm and Poetry East Coast, which includes Cat's Cafe, Cat, Byron Walter, Carie Shaw, and Poet. I want to give a shout out to everybody who made Rhythm and Poetry on the West Coast what it was, and that is Diva Cat, that is Flowage, that is Poetic Butterfly, that is Jacqueline Smithson Howard, that is everybody at the Brazilian Center for Cultural Change, Awareness. Anyway, yeah, there is no Rhythm and Poetry without them. And Rhythm and Poetry was certainly not a one person operation at all. The people on that open mic, the people that were featuring, the people that were showcasing, and a lot of people behind the scenes were the reason. My job, I was just the glue trying to hold everybody together. More magic until we meet again in the matrix, my dear. God bless you. Continue to be freaking fearless. You know what I mean? Take it to these cats next. Never be afraid to go inside the cipher and speak your truth. Okay? Until next time, my dear, you take care of yourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, like, comment, subscribe. We shall be
Hey.
back.